joined by Chairman Frank. Thank you for the time today. Appreciate it. Want to talk taxes. I know that you've had some problems with the proposal that the president put forward. Your colleagues today voting effectively to block this from coming to the floor unless there are changes made. What's the message to this White House?
That we disagree. I mean, I wouldn't get beyond that. People can disagree about public policy. The president's entitled to take his position. I think he prematurely gave in to the Republicans. We had a majority of the House vote for a plan that's what he said he wanted, which was to keep taxes at the current lower rate for almost everybody, but allow it to go, as the law says, up by 10% for the highest bracket, a very small number of people. That got a majority in the House, got a majority in the Senate. People said, well, that's the way Congress voted. 53 beats 36 in most games. And we got 53 votes for that in the Senate. They had 36 against it, and because of the filibuster, they won. But I think the president should have pushed harder. For example, the Republicans were blocking unemployment, and were asked to, be grateful to them because they stopped blocking unemployment compensation. I think that's an unsustainable position morally and economically, and I think he conceded their basic points too soon.
I know yesterday you and I spoke briefly. You said you still thought, even though you didn't like the package, that it would prevail in the House of Representatives. Does the action today by your colleagues, the caucus today, change that dynamic in any respect? Do you think you all are forcing changes here?
Well, apparently the Senate was already planning changes. Remember, under the Constitution, the House starts tax bills. The House did send the Senate a tax bill. So this is now in the Senate. We sent them the bill that said keep taxes at the current rate for almost everybody, but have the extra increase for the very wealthy. I'm told the Senate's already planning some changes. So once the Senate makes some changes, then the House does. I think that the president will still probably get the essentials of what he and the Republican leadership have asked for, and I'll probably be voting against it. But there will apparently be some changes.
Let me just ask you finally on this topic. What should Speaker Pelosi do at this point? You know her well. She's in a difficult position here.
She is. In the end, I think she's obligated, by my view, to allow a vote on the president's plan, but also on alternatives. I think we have to see first what the Senate does, and they are going to be making some changes. I would see if we could get the votes to make some changes, especially in the estate tax. I got a letter today from the people at the John Hancock Life Insurance Company, not a bunch of radicals, objecting to the revenue loss that's going to come from that much higher estate tax. I mean, a handful of people are going to get benefited, and at the cost of tens and tens of billions of dollars. People who are so wealthy that they really aren't even going to notice the benefit. So I think she should see if we can make some changes. But I do think the president's got that his plan should be voted on as well.
There's one issue that comes under the jurisdiction of your committee, which is the Build America Bonds, which has been thrown around as a bargaining chip as well. Would you like to see the Build America Bonds program extended in this bill?
True, but that also is a Ways and Means issue. Are you sure that's our jurisdiction?
You tell me. What's your thoughts on that? Should it be included?
I think that's the Build America Bonds. It's a Ways and Means issue because the key element there is the tax treatment. So Build America Bonds is also Ways and Means. I think they've been very successful.
You'd like to see it extended?
Yeah.
Let me ask you about some other issues with financial services going forward. Obviously, you're moving into the minority next year. We learned today that some of the changes that the Republicans are putting in the committee, Mr. Paul of Texas is going to take over the Monetary Policy Subcommittee with oversight over the Federal Reserve. This is a man who's got a book out to end the Fed. What do you think that's going to mean for Fed policy? And do you have any concerns that it might affect Fed independence?
Well, it's interesting turnabout for the Republicans. In 2003 and 2005, the last time the Republicans had a majority, he was in line to be the chairman. They wouldn't let him. They literally abolished they merged the subcommittee at one time. They got somebody else to come there. So it shows what a turnaround there's been in the Republican Party. I worked with him on some things. The recent information people have read about the Fed came because we put that into our bill. And we didn't just do it with a look back. We've said going forward, the transactions the Fed has will ultimately be made public, although with enough of a time frame delay so you don't have people trading on that basis. But I disagree with Ron Paul's views. I don't frankly think they're representative of most Republicans either. I think that's indicative of the kind of troubles they're going to have. The Tea Party wing, and Ron Paul, to his credit, predates the Tea Party, but there are some very, very conservative Republicans who don't necessarily agree with the mainstream conservative Republicans. It's, I think, an old story of does the right hand know what the far right hand is doing? And I think you're going to see significant disputes within the Republican Party. I do not believe that Ron Paul's views on the Fed represent most Republicans, and that's one of the fights they're going to have among themselves.
All right. Well, listen, Chairman Frank, thank you for the time today.